Welcome to r/Bestof Redditor updates, where OP's boyfriend tries something in the bedroom, which puts OP in the hospital. Our next Reddit post is from r/advice. I'm a 27-year-old woman, and my ex, a 26-year-old guy, dumped me in January after 9 years together because he didn't think that I was wife material. Now, he reached out wanting to talk because he needs to get something off his chest. I don't know why he's doing this, or if I should meet him. I don't want to go too much into the details, but for the last 9 years, I lost myself to my ex, Nate. He was my world. Everything I did was for him. I helped him through depression, helped get his grades up, even worked 2 jobs so that he could focus on college when his parents disowned him for nearly 3 years because they didn't agree with the major or college that he chose. Bear in mind, I was also a college student. When his parents started talking to him again and started to financially support him, we moved into a new apartment. Nate said that he wanted me to quit my job. I didn't, because it was his turn to take care of me. For 16 months, everything was great. He spoiled me. Then, I noticed that he was more interested in his new friends. At times, he ignored me completely. Back in December, he did a 180, and he love-bombed me the whole month. He really went out of his way to make Christmas magical for me. I honestly believed that he was going to propose on January 2nd. He made me my favorite dinner and made this speech about me being his first love, how I've been there since high school. And I kept thinking any minute now he's going to ask me to marry him. But no, he dumped me. As his speech went on, my world fell apart, and as much as he tried to sugarcoat it, he basically said, "You were a good girlfriend, but that's what you'll always be to me, a girlfriend. I don't see you as my wife or the mother of my children, blah blah blah. You served your purpose. Now I don't need you anymore. I need someone on my level. You're a gold digger, blah blah blah. I give you 30 days to move out." I couldn't speak, and he stared at me looking for a response. I think this lasted 20 minutes before he said that he would sleep in the guest room and left. Strangely, I didn't cry or get angry. I just ordered cardboard boxes online, then went to bed. The next day, I waited for him to leave the apartment before I left my room and called my boss and begged really, if I could transfer anywhere else. She told me there wasn't anything, but if something came up in my department, she'd consider me. I then reached out to everyone I knew who wasn't also Nate's friend for a place to stay. My cousin invited me to stay in her spare room for as long as I needed, and I could move in straight away, so that was amazing. In the 4 days it took me to pack my stuff and move out, I didn't see or speak to Nate. I doubt he even noticed. I didn't trust myself at the time to ignore a "you up?" text, so I blocked him and everyone close to him. I even changed my number and email to make sure that he couldn't reach me. The first night at my cousin's was the night that everything hit me. I think I cried every night the first month. I honestly felt like garbage. I thought about what Nate said over and over again. It made me feel so low, like I was nothing. He only stayed with me because I was just there. But thankfully, my cousin sent for my mom, other cousins, and my real friends to give me an intervention, which I badly needed. I believe that I wouldn't have made it through that first month without my cousin. I thought by now that I'd be a distant memory for Nate. But shockingly, he sent flowers to my job today for my birthday, which was on Sunday. Apparently, he went to my parents' house looking for me too, and my mom admitted that he's been there before dropping stuff off and tried to ask questions about me, but they told him to F off. The flowers came with a card saying, "Dear Cassie, happy belated birthday. I've been thinking about you nonstop for the last few months, especially with how everything ended. I need to get something off my chest that I feel will haunt me for the rest of my life if I don't tell this to your face. But I have no way of contacting you, so if it's possible, can we meet up in the near future? Nate." What could he want? What's haunting him that he needs to say to my face? Everyone in my life is telling me to ignore him, but they hate him. I'm torn, but I can't lie. My curiosity is telling me to meet him to see what he has to say. Then, the next day, OP posted an update. He came to my work today looking for me during lunchtime. I told the receptionist to say that I was out and caught a ride home with a coworker so I wouldn't meet him if he planned to run into me by accident. Then, 5 days later, OP posted another update. So we ended up meeting, and no, I didn't go to him. So apparently, Nate just kept going to my usual places like the grocery store I go to every Saturday evening or the park that I ran at Sunday mornings until he would eventually run into me. And he did yesterday. He was waiting at the coffee shop that I go to after my morning run. When I saw him, I tried to turn around and leave, but he kept calling me, so I thought to myself if everything went pear-shaped, a coffee shop would be safer than my walk home. So I just sat down and asked him what he wanted. He gave an apology that wasn't an apology. You know the type. "I'm sorry, but," and "pity me." He blamed his mental health, his job, his parents, his friends, everyone but himself. I took someone's advice on here and said, "Cut the BS. I already know everything." He genuinely looked shocked and stared at me for a second. I guess he thought that his coworker already told me everything, so he couldn't lie. Here's what really happened. He fell for a girl in his office. When he told me her name, I knew her immediately. I've met her a few times. He told me that for the past 2 years, he idolized her. To be fair, she's beautiful with an amazing personality. And he hated me because I was the one stopping them from being together because his coworker was too classy to be a side piece. When he broke up with me, he confessed to her that he was madly in love with her, and he ended a 9-year relationship to be with her. Well, here's where it gets funny. She doesn't even like him, lol. She called him a piece of trash and told him if he ever spoke to her outside of work, she'd report him to HR. So I asked him, what does any of this have to do with me? Like, we're over. I clearly cut ties. There's no reason for us to speak. He wants to try again and promised that we would get married before the year's end, that we belong together. I told him I'm nobody's second choice, and he threw me away after 9 years and said some pretty cruel things to me. And now he thinks if he snaps his fingers, I'll come running back. He tried to beg and fake tears, bringing up the good times in our relationship. I told him to please leave me alone, as he wasted too much of my time already. I texted my cousin to meet me at the coffee shop. He kept saying nonsense, even suggesting that if I went to couples counseling for a few months, then he would leave me alone for the 20 minutes it took for my cousin to arrive, which felt like 20 years. In the end, I just stopped listening and stood at the counter making small talk with baristas until my cousin arrived. My cousin told him to F off, and that if he tried to follow us, she would call her brothers. He stayed in the coffee shop as far as I know, and we just went home. That's it. Another classic tale of OP's partner falling for a coworker. Okay, fine, whatever. I've read that story a bajillion times. What I don't understand is, why would you end a 9-year relationship in such an awful way? You know, logically, you'd have some sort of feelings or love or positive emotions towards your partner, so why treat them like trash on the way out? Why not just say, hey, I'm sorry, but it's not working for me anymore. I gotta go. There's just no need to drag them through the mud on the way out. I think OP dodged a bullet here. He's a cheater, and on top of that, just kind of a scumbag. Heads up on this story, I try not to go too graphic with the stories, especially when it comes to bedroom activities, and I was about to skip over this post, but honestly, it's pretty interesting, so this is going to be a bit racier than I normally go, fair warning. Our next Reddit post comes from rSlash Drew Off My Chest. My ex-fiance injured me by attempting butt stuff without preparation or consent. My confession is that I'm too embarrassed to tell people what happened. Me and my boyfriend were having conventional intercourse, and he was behind me. He claims he missed. He used that exact word. And he got me in the butt twice. No lube, no preparation, and I had not consented to butt stuff. He had been bugging me to do it, but I always said no. The pain was so bad that I fainted the second time in. I ended up bleeding and with a huge bruise on my face from where I smacked the headboard and fainted. I had to be admitted to the hospital. Because of the bruise on my face, everyone thought that I ended up in the hospital because he hit me. I've said that isn't what happened, but that just made everyone think that I'm covering for him, even though I did break up with him. I'm so embarrassed to tell everyone what really happened, especially my parents and grandparents, but everyone else too. It was embarrassing enough with the medics, doctors, and nurses and all the exams, and now having to watch what I eat and take stool softening pills for the next while. Or that it hurts to sit. I wish everyone would drop it and move on, but they all want to know the real story, which I'm too embarrassed to tell. Then, 2.5 years later, OP posted an update. I broke up with my fiance because we had a huge fight at the hospital because he blamed me for what happened. But I was still so ashamed that I didn't tell my family or anyone else the true story about what happened. I only told the hospital staff. Waking up in the hospital was scary, but hospital staff, the police, and social workers were so kind. Even when I posted here the first time, I was still in denial about what happened. Due to my injuries, the hospital automatically notified the police. The police treated this as domestic violence. Lots of times, I read online about people deciding to press charges, but I found out that's a myth. Only the police can charge someone. And if there's a domestic violence situation, the police don't ask opinions of the victim, since the victim will often cover for the abuser or try to have the charges dropped. I wasn't given any choice in him being charged. I'm going to stop real quick. This is kind of interesting because OP is half right. It is true that if someone commits a crime against you, you can't decide or not decide to press charges. That is actually a myth. But OP's wrong that it's not the police that press charges, it's the district attorney or the government, effectively. The police just arrest people once they think they have enough evidence of a crime. Also, when cops ask you if they want to press charges, what they mean is, are you willing to testify if this goes to court? Anyways, back to the story. My ex-fiance was arrested and he faced 2 charges over what he did to me. Separately from that, he was charged with lying to the police. He was put on a no-contact order for me when he got arrested and he was given bail at first. His bail was canceled after a few months. It's a standard condition for everyone on bail to give their passport to the police. He told the police that he didn't have a passport, but then they found out that he had plane tickets for a relative's wedding over in the United States, which required a passport since it's international travel. He thought that it wasn't a big deal because he bought a return ticket too, but since he wasn't allowed to leave the country and he had told police that he didn't have a passport when he was asked to surrender it, his bail was canceled. He received a 4th charge over the passport incident. I haven't seen him since we broke up, except for when I testified in court. The police and a social worker kept me up to date about his bail and everything else. I haven't had any contact from him since our argument in the hospital. He was convicted on all charges he faced, so he has a criminal record and is also a sex offender. I won't lie about how testifying in court was the worst day of my life, besides the night that he hurt me. I wasn't even sure I wanted to testify, but I was legally required to. So, at the end of the day, I faced this. Back when it first happened, our neighbors called for an ambulance because of the commotion, so a lot of people on our street saw me naked. I saw one of those neighbors at court. It was really humiliating to have to talk about everything in front of so many strangers, but I'm doing much better now. This dude has watched way too much adult content. Thinks he can just slip it in the back door, no prep, no lube. Dude, are you nuts? Well, whatever he is, he's now a sex offender. That was r/Best of Redditor updates, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.